We're talking about the fundamentals of sync licensing with Jonathan McHugh and Nick Woolard. I'm sure anyone can Google this, and everyone probably has, but it's not every day that you get to hear this from the mouths of those who actually make it happen. I wanted to ask you both, what is a sync license?
So I did actually Google it just to make sure that my understanding was correct. I thought that it would be sensible just to double check. So actually, there's probably two definitions of a sync license. There's a sync license, which I guess most people would refer to. It's licensing music for the purpose of synchronization, normally with audiovisual content. Sometimes there are some edge cases like licensing it for a podcast where you're synchronizing to other audio, for example. In reality, a sync license in technical terms is actually relates to clearing the publishing of a track, so the synchronization of the composition, so the melody or the lyrics. Whereas clearing the sound recording is actually a master use license. Having said that, in 15 years of working in the business, I don't think I've ever heard it separated out. It may be that that's partly to do with my background of working in production music, but I would always refer to a sync license as being the kind of combination of both the publishing and the master.
Well, you're right. They are very different, and both of them are needed to license any piece of music. You can't have the master without the sync, and vice versa. But Nick's right in the sense that the concept of the sync license has been generically grouped into both when most times they're very separate.
Yeah, great. So now I wanted to cover a few terms that are regularly used in the industry, and for anyone who's likely to come across them if they're dealing in sync. Micro license or micro sync.
This is another one where I think that the definitions can vary a little bit. So my understanding of micro licensing was always mainly in the kind of YouTube online space, where it refers to very small incremental payments that aggregate up over a large user base. That being said, I think there's other people would refer to that as any kind of form of low cost, high volume licensing. So even kind of entering into the space of production music, that has in parts been referred to as micro licensing. Although I would say that the true definition is kind of much smaller incremental payments.
How about needle drop?
Needle drop's a term I actually hate. It sounds like such a icky kind of thing, but it's basically just a song playing in a scene. And for some reason, people still use that term. It's just like, it's not literally someone dropping a needle. They refer to it generically as just a kind of a song playing in a scene. It can be, I guess, literally, you could literally have someone putting the record arm on a record, but it's literally just that nature of a song playing in a scene, and it's dropped in there without, like, the word is, I guess, when it says drop, it feels like it wasn't curated, it wasn't cared for, it just dropped in there, and that is not the case for most times.
Only thing to add is that it's a term that I don't hear that often in the UK. Like, it does seem to be more US centric, although randomly it was also something that came up a lot in Scandinavia. So I don't know whether that's a kind of reflection on the wider world, but certainly not something that's referred to regularly here in the UK market, to my knowledge.
Oh, interesting. So what's the UK counterpart, or is there one?
I always used to call it one-off licensing, but again, that may be bias of the world that I inhabited for 10 years.
Okay, perfect segue, because the next question is one stop. What does that mean?
One stop is incredibly important to music supervisors, because it basically means that, much like we talked about how there's a sync license or a master license needed, the goal is always to simplify our jobs. And if we can find what's called one stop, it means that the publishing and the master owner are owned by the same source, and you can license them directly from one party. That's why music libraries win a lot in our world, because we know that we can just make one call and it's done. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to track down the 8 writers on that song. You can't find one. They're on vacation in the Bahamas. They can't be reached. And, they have 5%, and anywhere from 1 to 5, any percent can stop a license from happening. So the aspects of one stop, people that control both sync and master, are incredibly important for what we do because of the ease of use, so to speak.